Today we'll hear a story called Clifford for President, because this week we're talking about our community, like the United States, the flag, and who's in charge. We don't have kings and queens like some countries. We have a president, and the people choose the president every 4 years. And actually, this year, we get to choose a president. We can choose Donald Trump to be the president again if we want to, or we can choose a new person to be the president. You can only be the president 2 times. So, this book is called Clifford for President, and it is, I don't see the author and the illustrator listed on the front. So, do you remember where we go to see the author and the illustrator? We go to the title page. Here is the title page. The title is Clifford for President, and the author is Acton Figueroa. It's illustrated by Tom Lapadula. So Tom did the pictures, he's the illustrator, and Acton is the author. He did the words. So let's find out what's going on and how Clifford became Clifford. On Monday morning, Mrs. Carrington's class learned about the presidential election. The election is the fancy word for getting to choose who's going to be the next president. So the presidential election is where you elect or choose the next president. Every citizen 18 and older can vote, said Miss Carrington. It's an important part of being a good citizen. So you guys are not 18 yet, so you can't vote in the presidential election, but your parents can, and hopefully they will. Maybe you can ask them who they're going to vote for. People who run for president are called candidates, said Miss Carrington. They promise to solve problems. People vote for the candidate who they think will do the best job. So you're going to pick somebody who you think will help solve some problems that might come up. I wish I was old enough to vote, thought Emily Elizabeth. And to vote means to go pick who you want. So everybody gets a chance to vote if you're 18 or older. Who you want to be president. Put your choice in. Vote is to put your choice. The next day, Emily Elizabeth and Clifford went for a walk in the park. Every trash can was overflowing. This doesn't look very nice, said Emily Elizabeth. Look at all that trash. That is a problem. The park was very messy. There were piles of leaves and litter. Litter is another word for trash. Everywhere. Dead flowers drooped in their beds. That means somebody wasn't taking care of the flowers. Clifford dropped a soda can in the trash. Emily Elizabeth said, Clifford, if you were president of the park, it would be clean as a whistle. And then she had an idea. At home, Emily Elizabeth got out paint and paper. We'll have an election, Clifford, she said. We need a president of the park. So not the president of the United States, but of the park. Jetta saw the posters hanging in the park. You'd be a great president, Mac, said Jetta. You'd be the dog for the job. So it says, elect a president of the dog park, meeting on Wednesday. A crowd of kids and dogs showed up for the meeting. First, we need to nominate 2 candidates, explained Emily Elizabeth. Then we'll have the election on Friday. Nominate means to go ahead and pick 2 people that you want. That will decide you're going to pick from those 2 people, or in this case, 2 dogs. Jetta called out, I nominate Mac. Mac wagged his tail. I nominate Clifford, said Emily Elizabeth, and then she wished Mac good luck. Thanks, said Jetta. So you don't have to be mean, even though they both want the job. You don't have to be mean to each other. You can say, good luck. May the best dog win. Emily Elizabeth and Jetta worked on posters together. Emily Elizabeth's poster read, Clifford for president. He will clean up the park. So if you want to be the president, you've got to have some ideas of how you will help. So people will want to vote for you and pick you to be the president. So they think you're going to do a good job. Jetta's poster read, vote for Mac. He's the best dog. Jetta said, Mac really is the best, and I'm sure he'll win. I see some angry faces. Clifford is a great dog, too, said Emily Elizabeth. Jetta said, Mac will be president. May the best dog win, replied Emily Elizabeth. Now they're getting a little angry. Sometimes that happens in elections. That night, Jetta made a few more posters. Now everyone will know you are the best, Mac. And she hung the posters in the park. After school on Friday, Emily Elizabeth and Clifford went to the park. It was election day. They get to pick who's going to be the president of the park. A crowd stood around Jetta. Clifford would not be a good president, she said. Mac is the best. She says, Mac yes, Clifford no. Emily Elizabeth didn't say anything. It's not nice to say bad things about your opponent, she thought. Your opponent is the person that you're running against, the other person who wants the job, or dog that wants the job. Jetta told everyone to vote for Mac. Mac wagged his tail. Some of Jetta's posters blew away, and they got stuck high in the tree branches, causing even more litter or trash. Clifford pulled the posters out of the tree. They were so high up, even he had to stretch. Look at Clifford, shouted Charlie. He's cleaning up the park. Remember, that was a problem, and he's solving it. It's time to vote, said Charlie. He passed out slips of paper. Check off the name of the dog who will be the best president. After everyone had voted, Charlie counted the ballot. Everybody waited for the results. The ballots are the pieces of paper where you pick your choice, Clifford or Mac in this case. Clifford won! He gave Mac a friendly slurp. So, he was still being friendly. He wanted him to feel good even though he didn't win. Clifford will be a good president, said Emily Elizabeth. Mac can be vice president. That means like the helper. Hooray for President Clifford! And look at that clean park. And they're all getting along and having fun. So in the back of this book, there's some questions, and I'm going to ask you and see if you can answer them. So, who decided to have an election for president of the park? Remember? Was it Jetta, Emily Elizabeth, or Charlie? Do you remember who decided to have an election for president of the park? I want you to think back at the beginning of the story. Who do you think it was? That's right. If you said Emily Elizabeth, you were right. That she was the person who decided to have the election at the very beginning. Number 2. What did Clifford do after he won? A, he cleaned up the park. B, he slurped Emily Elizabeth. Or C, he slurped Mac. Remember, Mac was the other dog who wanted to be president. What did he do after he won? Do you remember? You said he slurped Mac. You were right. Remember, he was trying to make him feel a little bit better, even though he didn't win. He was trying to do it. This is the last question. It's a little hard, so you got to think. Which happened first? What was the first thing that happened out of these things? 1, did Jetta make posters first? Or did Clifford put a can in the trash first? Or did Emily Elizabeth learn about the presidential election in school first? That was kind of hard. We got to really think about all those things and what happened first in the story. You may not remember what was first, can you? The first thing that happened was Emily Elizabeth learned about the presidential election. Remember, they were talking about it at the beginning of the story, and she said she wished she was old enough to vote in the presidential election because you have to be 18. And then she saw the trash in the park, and they talked about having an election for the dog park. Remember, president of the dog park? So Clifford put a can in the trash next. And then they had the election, and Jetta made posters for Mac because Mac was also running for president. That one was a really tough question. Hopefully, you got a few of those questions right. And the way you get questions right after you listen to a story is you listen carefully. If you're reading on your own, sometimes you can go back in the story if you forget. You could go back and look at the pictures and read the words and decide what the right answer is. Clifford for president. Maybe go ask your parents who they're voting for the president. The 2 candidates for our United States president is Donald Trump, who is the president now, and Joe Biden, who also wants to be president. So go ask them who they're voting for. They vote in November, which is not too far away.